Hello and welcome to episode 216 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
Yeah, Bill. Hope everybody's doing well this week. Happy Mother's Day to any mothers that are listening to this.
Yes, indeed. Happy Mother's Day, Mom, because I know you do listen. So,
Yeah. So it's been a good day. I cooked. My food mom was probably what I cooked this morning. There's a restaurant in San Diego called The Mission that I really like the pancakes. And so I made pancakes with blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries cooked in a batter.
okay.
It was delicious. So I posted a picture on Facebook and on Twitter if anybody's interested in looking at it.
Well,
But that's my food moment.
I guess as long as we're talking food moments, I'll just do one now, too. Maria found, it's called croissant bread. And it's literally like, it's a bread, it's shaped like bread. And it's a little more dense than a normal croissant, but it makes incredible French toast.
Yeah, I made French toasted croissants a couple weeks ago. I loved it.
Yeah, but this is, like I said, it's already sliced. And it's probably like at least half an inch to three-quarters of an inch thick. And it's got, especially like I said, once you soak it, it gets really,
Was
really
it in
good.
a bakery place or was it in a grocery store? Where was it?
I believe that was from Imperfect Foods, which, people should look into if they don't like having the groceries delivered in and saving money.
Okay. Well, I want to start off the show with a shout out to Russell Westbrook for tying Oscar Robertson's career triple double record.
Yes.
And so we can expect that sometime this season that Russ will break that record. And, Jason, I'm not apologists. We are way in the Russ camp. We've always been in Russ camp. I think he plays hard. We don't think he pads the stats.
No.
We just think he's one of those guys with a high motor, and his motor produces the stats.
It does. And his incredible confidence produces some plays down the stretch that have you shaking your head saying, don't shoot that, Russ. But, he doesn't shy from the moment. And as long as we're on our pro...
Russ doesn't miss a shot he doesn't like.
Yeah. And as long as we're on our pro Russ camp, I still feel like he gets a bum deal from the whole Oklahoma City because it seems like people have decided that they didn't win because of Russ and they would have won with KD. And it's like, it just, so far KD has only proven that he can win if he goes to the Warriors. I'm not saying he's not a great player, but to pretend that he wasn't making mistakes and that back when Oklahoma City was a young team was just foolish. And to put it all the blame on Russ because that's just,
Yeah, that was just a very young team that time. I think he surprised themselves getting that far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That early in their careers, and they weren't ready for their moment.
No.
And the salary cap and jealousy and everything else enters into it. You end up breaking up that team, which would have been an unbelievable team.
Yeah, and I feel like I know you felt you had a year left with Harden's contract. We can just, whether or not they would have gone over the salary cap or given the luxury tax, but you had him under contract for one more season. Like the team that lost in the final in that Western Conference Finals, like you could have at least run it back because the combination of Jeremy Lamb, Steven Adams, and some other pick just seemed really foolish at the time and still does. So, what can you do? But while we're complaining about NBA players, let's complain about NBA player complaints. Most recently, LeBron James has come out against the play-in game, which we're both very excited for. And while we certainly acknowledge...
Like I said offline, I can see where, if you fight all year and you finish seventh, and then you lose the next game in a play-in, I can see where that would upset you and bother you.
Of course.
Because you think you should be playing a little bit longer. You deserve it because it's based upon what happened during the year.
Correct.
On the other hand, there's something, like the EPL. I mean, you play the playoff game, you're out. I mean, that to me is, I like that. I like that second chance for some teams. Like last year, I wish, Phoenix played so well in the bubble. I wish they would have gotten to play again. That they were just so far behind everybody else, they couldn't catch up. But they were one of the best teams last year, even without Chris Paul.
Yeah.
At the end of the year.
Exactly.
And so you see it this year. So it's not a perfect system. It's like everything else.
No, but this year is going to give us. I mean, assuming everything holds as is, instead of Steph, missing the playoffs. We're going to get Steph in a playoff game, maybe against the Lakers. The Steph who just went off for 11 threes and 48 points last night. And I want to watch that game. You know?
I do too. I would have watched Steph anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, consider how he's played this year with nothing around him and Draymond.
Oh yeah.
They've done really well when they get their talent back next year. When when players are healthy and they have another draft pick to it, who knows?
And right now in the East, playing in the playoff game, we're gonna get the Charlotte Hornets. So we're gonna get some young LaMelo Ball. We're gonna get Russ Beal and the Wizards, which again is super exciting. I mean, and one of the teams in the seventh seed right now is Boston Celtics. And as much as I like Tatum and Brown, I don't think that team has really earned some sort of, if you finish in the top four, certainly. But I mean, the Celtics right now are 35 and 32. And they'd be playing, I think they'd play the Wizards at 32 and 36, or the Pacers at 31 and 38. So it's not like it's that big a gap between those, four teams.
No.
And again, I want to see it,
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics have actually, they're a team that you've been waiting on, and they're kind of disappointed.
Yeah. Well, I think you had, when you look at that team, when they drafted Tatum over Markelle Fultz, and you still had the Memphis pick and a couple of these other picks, and, you had Hayward and Brown and this exciting team and Marcus Smart, you thought, this team is going to be there's one or two pieces away, and then, their picks never quite worked out the way they wanted them to, and maybe they held on to them a little bit too long, and then, Hayward had the terrible injury history in Boston.
Yeah.
And then it seems like Kemba Walker's just inherited that mantle of, I'm going to be the injured, third star on this team. Because I love Kemba, but Kemba's just can't stay on the court.
No.
But let's do this. Right now in the East, I'll run over the standings, and then let's do a little mini prediction. So right now, Philadelphia Sixers at the 1st seed. The Brooklyn Nets are the 2. The Bucks are 3. The New York Knicks are the 4 seed right now, which is just incredible. The Atlanta Hawks in the 5th seed. The Heat, the Celtics, and then, like I said, the Hornets, Warriors, and Wizards and Pacers. Who do you like out of that group?
I'm going to go with the favorite. I'm going to go with the Sixers.
Yeah?
Only because, of Doc Rivers coaching.
Yeah.
And he's been there, and he's seen it, and he's done it. And I think that's a big, important factor to that team. I mean, it's not a significantly different team than last year, except for the coach.
Exactly. Well, they have a little bit more shooting.
Difference, I think.
Yeah. A little bit more shooting. Embiid's playing absolutely incredible right now. And
he stayed healthy for the most part.
I think that Doc, and I think even some Sixers fans have finally accepted what, Ben Simmons is. He's a 6'10", great passer, good rebounder, incredible defender. He's just not a shooter. And, do the Belichick. Find a way to make his strengths and,
don't expect it to be something he can't be. Maximize what he can do well and let him do that well.
Yeah.
But I'll go with the Sixers. Who are you picking out of that mess?
My heart wants to pick the Bucks. I really want to see Giannis get a chip more than I think anybody in the NBA. I know he's still young and he's got plenty of time to do it. But, I just don't see it happening. If the Knicks win a series, I think the Knicks being competent has probably bought them 2 or 3 years of goodwill in New York.
The Knicks have brought back hope for the fans. There's no question.
Yeah, because you like the people in the front office, James Dolan, notwithstanding. Tibbs has been good at coach. Julius Randle's been a revelation. Some of the young guys are starting to really play well. If you hit on 1 or 2 draft picks and, get a good free agent in there, and the Knicks are back,
And they got plenty of money, and people do want to play in New York.
They do. And like I said, I think with Worldwide West and the team they put in, in the front office they have there now, they are a destination again.
Well, hold on to that James Dolan thought, because we'll play it to the NHL when we get done with basketball.
Of course. I don't see the Hawks doing anything. The Heat, I think, just based on last year, you got to give them some love. But And then
They get
obviously
some love, but they overachieved last year.
they did. And then obviously, I guess the elephant in the room team is the biggest wild card, and that's the number 2 seed, the Brooklyn Nets, who those three guys have just not played together very much this year.
No, they haven't.
And when they're together, I'm sure, even when it's one of them or two of them, they're still a handful. And like I said, they've managed to get the 2 seed in the East, even though Harden and Kyrie, for different reasons, have missed a lot of time, and Durant's missed the majority of the season. So, but, that team all healthy, it's pretty crazy.
So who are you picking to go against the Sixers in the conference finals?
Well, let's talk about that. So in the West, the number 1 seed is Utah.
No. Stay in the East.
Oh, stay in the East?
Who are you picking to play against the Sixers? And you picking the Bucks or are you picking the Nets?
I can't pick against the Nets. They're a little bit Brady, and I'm a little scared of them. I want the Bucks, but I think if you look at the history of that coach, like Bud back from the Atlanta days, like his teams are always disappointing in the playoffs. And I know that's not all on him. It's obviously it's a combination of players and coaching, but I mean we've said it with my Steelers, with the 3-6 in the last decade in the playoffs. Like at some point, I don't care who's to blame, but that whatever's happening isn't working. And you're back to the Bucks. They've had 2 early exits with Giannis and the Bucks. And the Hawks perpetually were like, an overachieving team in the regular season that just didn't get it done in the playoffs again. So,
Yep.
All right. So West, Jazz from the number 1 seed, Phoenix Suns number 2, the Clippers number 3, the Nuggets 4, Mavericks are 5, Portland 6, the Lakers, who would be in the play-in game at the 7th seed, the Warriors in the 8th. Then you got Memphis and bizarrely San Antonio still hanging around.
Yeah, San Antonio's been surprising.
Yeah.
But good coaching will do that.
Yeah. I don't like the Jazz. I just don't think they can win in the playoffs. And I don't know what it is exactly about them. They just seem like they're a really good regular season team that's got a lot of continuity and they've stayed healthy. I love the Nuggets, but with Jamal Murray out, I can't see them advancing very far. I think the Mavericks are still a good player away. And, I mean, the Lakers are in the 7th seed for a reason, in that you are what we thought you were kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and we talked about this off air, a player I disliked most of my life was Tom Brady. And these last 2 years, I've just really found myself rooting for Tom Brady. And similarly, I've always sort of disliked Chris Paul. But these last 3 seasons, he's just grown on me a ton. And I really like Phoenix.
Okay.
And I think Phoenix has been, they only won 2 less games than Utah during the course of the entire season. And I could really see, I mean, I know they have a little bit of problem inside, like, because Ayton has never turned out to be the number 1 over lottery pick you thought he was, but I can see the Suns going.
All right. And I am gonna take the Jazz.
Okay.
I just like the way they play together. There's just something about the team I like. And I agree with you that they are always a disappointment. They're always a good record and never do anything in the playoffs. But, I think I'm going to pick the Jazz versus the Sixers. And everybody, how wrong I've been all year.
So
I'm taking the Jazz and the Sixers, so you probably don't want to bet those teams. And then to be fair, I think Jason and I, when we did our pre-season NBA show, we both didn't see any way the Lakers would lose, but we didn't see them losing this many games to injury either.
No. And I think, going into the playoffs, like with the season LeBron's had and then the season AD has had, I don't know if you can count on those guys to be healthy through the entire time. Plus, as we talked about, LeBron complaining about this play-in game, like, I don't like that from a mentality standpoint as your best player. I'd rather, I know LeBron is, he's without question one of the greatest players of all time, and I don't question his leadership. I just feel like in this case, I think he'd just be no comment. Like, it doesn't matter who we're going to play. We're going to win everything and just roll. As opposed to whining about having to play an extra game. So.
See, I think back, and I think if Michael Jordan would be in a play-in, he just had the attitude, okay, we're playing, I'll kick their ass and be done with it.
Yeah. Now, the one team we did not talk about were the 45 and 22 other team from Los Angeles, the 3 seed, the Clippers.
Yeah.
And is that just,
I don't believe.
Yeah, I don't really believe
I
either.
just don't.
No. I mean, Kawhi obviously has proven, in two different destinations that he can get it done, but Kawhi's been really banged up this year. And I'm not sure if we're ever going to see full on Kawhi again. And then, then you have the infamous playoff P on the other side. And I think he's proven enough over the years that I don't trust playoff P. You know?
I just don't like the team. I just don't think they play well together. I don't think they're that good.
No.
A lot of talent. They don't, they're not, I just don't, I wouldn't bet on them. I would not watch them win, but it's just how I feel about them.
Yeah. Well, now as we transition into hockey.
Yes, let's talk about James Dolan's note to the NHL commissioner about how they handled the Tom Wilson situation.
Yeah.
Where he came out and said, I don't think you're doing a good job, and this guy who's the head of player safety he had that he should be fired. And Bettman came back really strong.
Yes, he did.
And fined him $250,000.
Which,
now that said, I kind of agree with James Dolan.
Which is a scary position.
You can let Tom Wilson be doing the stuff he does on the ice.
You can't.
You can't. He's got to go.
He's got that.
To fine him $5,000 for that,
no,
and not suspend him was just wrong.
He's got that Vontaze Burfict thing where it's like, how many times do you have to see somebody do something that's endangering other people in the league and just let it go, Because it doesn't make your sport any less tough or any less hockey. Like, he's not playing hockey. He's a thug. And he's proven that he's not going to stop doing things that could potentially injure other players. And I just don't see why he's not that guy on his team.
Not at all. So what did you think about when they came out on the ice after that game and just dropped their gloves immediately and started fighting with everybody?
I mean, that's that weird dichotomy of like, as a lifetime hockey fan, like on some level, like you kind of like the we'll take care of. I mean, because hockey more so than every other sport seems like we might fight, but we're going to shake hands as we skate away, But it doesn't seem like this is where that's going, and I don't know what sort of example that sets or what that's really accomplishing at this point, And I know that's very anti-old school hockey, the sweaters and all the good stuff, but it just doesn't seem like that's, I understand why they did it, but I'm not sure if that's really helping anybody, I guess.
Well, I mean, I think that Dolan immediately fired the president and somebody else, the general manager, I think.
Yeah.
And so the message was, we're not soft.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, you're also starting a fight that somebody's going to stop.
Exactly.
But the Tom Wilson thing, I think that's been a pain. It's been a bad thing for hockey for a couple of years. I just think you got to get this guy out of the game. He's not good for the game.
No. And we'll talk probably more playoff hockey once playoff hockey gets going, but the Golden Knights from Las Vegas, the expansion team from a couple years ago, once again finished first, and they're once again one of the top four. If you go Vegas standards, the top four to win the cup this year. And with Seattle coming in, I understand if you're the NHL, you put a great team in Vegas and you build a fan base right away. You've got a team that's competing right away. But at the time I had a problem with, and I think I talked about it on this thing, like, I think you're just giving away too many good players to an expansion team when you do it the way they did with Vegas. And I assume they'll do the same thing with the Kraken, which is a cool logo, and I'm excited for Seattle to have another professional team up there because I think it's a good fan base. But, I mean, I get it's a great way to get the team because, if you're a new fan, you're jumping in on a bandwagon that's already good.
Yeah, but you just spent $2 billion for that team, so...
Yeah.
You've got to, I actually like it because instead of being perennially bad for 8 to 10 years because you're an expansion team, like the Mets were, and the Angels and a lot of these other teams, you're not. And, it forces, you're going to get a good player from every team, or you're going to get all good players.
Yeah.
Because you can only protect so many guys.
Yeah, I feel like you're almost...
So I think it's good. I like the system. I don't think I've ever seen it work as well as it did for Las Vegas. So it also depends on how smart the people are that are picking players.
Yeah, I just felt like hockey, you should have been able to protect like two or three more guys on your roster. I still feel like it's fine. If you're getting like the worst guy from everybody's second line, plus the draft picks and all the free agent money, I think that should be enough. And I mean, I can't deny that part of it is I didn't like the persecution, the underdog story that Las Vegas, both as an organization and a fan base, were like, we took your cast-offs. And it's like, you didn't take the cast-offs. You took top 6, top 7 players off every single team in the NHL. Like, you're like the rich kid that he gets his company from his dad and talks about what a success he is. I mean, it's not to say you didn't work hard, but...
It's an interesting story because we'll see if they can pick as well as the Las Vegas Knights did. And
it's true.
If they don't, then it's not when you pick, I guess it's who's doing the picking.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy. I mean,
My strange moment of the week was watching the semifinals of the Division I AA, which is what I still call it, football championships, in May, and it just seemed strange to me.
Oh yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed one game. The other game was just a total blowout. South Dakota State just manhandled Delaware. Delaware's quarterback got hurt. He was kind of like a sitting duck. He couldn't move, but he was a guy that also ran. He just couldn't elude anybody. I think he got sacked 7 or 8 times. And then Sam Houston State was down like 27-3 and came back and won 38. I think it was 38-35 or 38-31. But so I'm looking forward to 2 really good teams next Sunday playing for the 1AA or football bowl system, football bowl championship system.
Okay.
Whatever they call it, FBS.
Well, I guess we can transition into just a quick one. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be a Packer at the beginning of the year?
And I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I'm going to say no because I just think he's really dug in. And I don't see them figuring out a way to make him happy. And if they did, do you really want him at that point in time?
No, and I think...
What do you have to do to make this guy happy? And is he going to be happy longer than a year? And I just don't. I think eventually they're going to get a good offer, and it's going to help them stay a contender and maybe prolong their time at the top. So I think they're going to get something of value, and they're going to go on.
Now, I know he says it's not about just the guaranteed money, but it's a team that's been in when they drafted Jordan Love, he had 2 down seasons in a row.
Right.
He's played great the last 2 seasons. You went to the NFC Championship game. You've got one of the best offensive lines in football. They re-signed Aaron Jones. People don't normally re-sign running backs, but he's one of the best running backs in football. You re-signed him. You've got Devontae Adams. As much as he complains about the 4th down play getting pulled, like I said, I agree that they should have just gone for it at that point. But he also did nothing on the first 3 downs, and he keeps making me forget that part.
Well, I don't think he likes the coach. I don't think he likes the general manager.
He clearly hates the general manager. But also,
I think he likes his teammates. But
yeah.
I also think that he's still stung from the draft pick.
But also, if you're the GM and the ownership, and assume they're on the same page because, they're management and ownership, and typically they are. If you like this GM, you think he's doing a good job, and you traded up to get Jordan Love a year ago. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Like, if you traded up to get a quarterback in the first round, and he's not ready to be your quarterback 2 years in, then you did fuck up that pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you just did. Like, you traded up in the first round for a quarterback 2 years ago. He's been in your system for 2 years with your coaching staff for 2 years. If that guy's not, you're basically, you're making Aaron Rodgers' point in a weird way on some level. Like I said, I also think Aaron Rodgers seems like a pretty miserable person to be around. So,
yeah. Well, a lot of people are spinning the idea that Jimmy G will go to the Packers and Aaron Rodgers will go there, but it's going to take more than Jimmy G to get Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And they've already traded away all their draft picks.
And I think,
I don't see that happening.
No. And like I said, I think, Jimmy G, if he can stay, when he's healthy, he's got an incredible winning percentage. He does turn the ball over a little bit too much, but if he can be your bridge because you're the 49ers, you're looking at a 3-4 year window with eventually Trey Lance as your quarterback. And if you can get a year of Jimmy G and then, make the playoffs, don't make the playoffs, whatever happens, and then work Trey Lance in as you go, I think that's the best thing for you. I don't think you'd want to bring in Rodgers right now in that situation either. But
You know, I
Denver,
seem to think that Denver and the Raiders make a lot of sense.
yeah, the
They really
Raiders.
give the Packers what they need.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, though, and I'm complaining I don't have a winning team, which is one of the things he's done, which sort of throws his teammates under the bus, like you could argue that Denver's defense and then Judy and Cortland Sutton and some of the guys they have on offense and Melvin Gordon and that line, like maybe that is a step up. But you're still playing in a division with Herbert and obviously Pat Mahomes. So who knows? But I don't see how the Raiders are a step up roster wise for you, especially a team that is given away that they're. I think they have one starting offensive lineman coming back. That could be an absolute disaster if he goes there.
I know where I'd like to see him end up. I don't think they have the capital to get him up.
Where's that?
New Orleans.
Yeah, I just don't think that. Yeah, I don't know what they would give up for him.
I don't think they have to give it up. So.
And I'm still big on LASIK Jameis. If you have bad eyesight, as like I said, as someone that's has had glasses in the last couple of years, like the glasses help. I'm sure LASIK's going to help him see which team is which. Maybe that's all he needed.
In theory, that would make sense.
And if you go by Madden numbers and little kids, Taysom Hill is a great quarterback. So, but that's never a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, entertainment-wise, we've had a serial killer 2 weeks in our house. We watched a 6-part John Wayne Gacy documentary, and then we watched the 4-part Son of Sam documentary on Netflix, which is brand new. It's very popular on the Netflix top 10. And it both of them sort of stipulate that it was more than one person and the nice thing about the Son of Sam one is it presents its case, but it also sort of shows you like someone's obsession with, proving themselves right and maybe going down the rabbit hole and getting a little bit too far in. And then, whatever point you did have get sort of lost in sort of your giant conspiracy sort of thing. But it's an interesting watch. I will say that.
Okay, and I think this is the last week for City on the Hill on Showtime. And this is episode, I believe, 4 of 7 of Mayor of Eastwood, which I'm really enjoying. And then this is the virtual Turner Classic Film Festival. And today's the last day of that. And if you like classic movies, if you like a lot of really good movies, and you like to hear the story behind the story, it's well worth tuning in for Turner for today if you have some time.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll say Happy Mother's Day.
Please, Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Thank the moms. I put a tweet. I want to thank I had a RIP mothers from all the mothers in my neighborhood when I was growing up that would let you drink out of the hose and give you lunch or give you a place to stay if your mom wasn't home and everything else. All the mothers that looked out for kids when they were growing up. So I want to shout out to all the RIP mothers, as I would call them.
And also, if you happen to watch us, we're not live, but if you listen to us through YouTube for some reason, don't click on any of the links that are in Chinese that have been popping up lately in the comment section. So I assume most people know that, but just doubling down on that.
Good advice.
So until next week.
And next week, we'll maybe talk a little bit of baseball. We talk any baseball today, but I think
I'll try to do some.
We still got a lot of baseball season left to go.
Yeah, I'll try to pay attention to baseball this week. I'll make it my goal.
All right, buddy. Have a good week.